Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I want to begin with a confession. I came to Lake Como this week telling me it was a professional duty, but with this weather and the venue and the excellent organization, I have since revised that position. The view is magnificent, but the problems that we are here to discuss are also extraordinary. We have built the most powerful cognitive tools in history, and we ship them without an ethics manual. We didn't forget the manual. We just decided values were someone else's department. Probably legal, possibly marketing, but definitely not engineering. Or many of us decided to wait for the regulators to come. Now, I've been involved in AI actually as a researcher since the 1970s with large-scale neural networks, in the 80s with support vector machines in Russia. I've worked across the defense sector, medicine, the electricity industries, finance, obviously, and I've done this in a number of countries, the USA, the UK, Germany, France, Italy. So my one-sentence provocation for this morning is that we are very good at making AI faster, cheaper, and more ubiquitous, but we are much less good at making AI good. Now, in the physical world, where AI drives your car, monitors your heartbeat, and decides whether to open the factory gate, not good stops being a philosophical debate and starts becoming a coroner's problem. And ethical AI has, in a sense, become what sustainable became 20 years ago, a reassuring adjective that makes everyone feel better while changing very little. We slap ethical on the label, ship the product, and collect the award at the gala dinner. So the uncomfortable truth here is that AI systems don't have values. They have objectives. And objectives without values are just very fast optimizations towards goals that nobody checked were actually any good. Volkswagen optimized for emissions tests. Facebook optimized for engagement. Both produced outcomes we now describe as somewhere beyond unfortunate. Now imagine that very same logic embedded in a physical robot in a care home. If it optimizes for patient throughput or staff convenience rather than human dignity, you haven't built a caregiver. You've built a high-speed assembly line for the elderly. So the gap between the objective and the values of civilization is where these things tend to go wrong, and we are wiring that into our robots. I was trying to think of an example to give you this morning, and sitting at the back, I remembered something about the ethics of fortune tellers. Seriously, fortune tellers have an ethical code of conduct. You'll see why in a minute. Now, there's an old economics quip that you should predict an event or predict a date, but never predict both. So I was hosting a dinner 2 years ago when ChatGPT was definitely all the rage. And a friend of mine was retiring. And he thought, what should he do in retirement? So he typed in to ChatGPT, please write my obituary. And it wrote a fantastic obituary, all the things he'd achieved and all the things he was going to achieve. And it ended with the date of his death. And you could have thought that a responsible ChatGPT might just say, I kind of understand the human values here. So the second thing I'd like to move on to then is we're in a primordial ooze stage, which is moving towards intelligent design. What do I mean? Well, we're training our foundation models on the entire internet and then hoping they absorb values by osmosis. If we feed it enough stuff, they will do the right thing. There's a technical phrase for that, bonkers. The internet contains the full spectrum of human behavior, heroic and vile, wise and deranged. Training on it produces a system that reflects that spectrum. But you don't get values for free. You have to put them in. You have to make choices, not just feed it more slop. And consider it statistically, if 90% of your training data is unfiltered digital backwash, your model isn't learning ethics. It's learning how to be a highly efficient mirror of a digital sewer. And the next AI gold rush isn't just more data. It's some kind of epidemiological hygiene, cleaning the ooze before it poisons the plumbing system. And with robotics, we reach the point where the latency between some of these flawed values and the physical consequence has shrunk to zero. So when we're looking at this, I myself got quite concerned. I'm also conscious there's some good work going on in the field. I particularly admire Anthropic's work, not just on the constitutions, which got a lot of press, but also their work on value system, trying to specify 3,400 human values. And we decided to create a project called Ordinary Wisdom. And the idea really began with the concept last October. We'd been working on regulatory aspects in London. Could we train a machine to have a conscience? And I define conscience as how you behave when nobody else is looking. How do you go about that? Well, we were not seeking some kind of philosophical decision. We wanted a technical solution, and we began in November with some funding. We had our first semi-public release in January, and we're having a global release in London in June during Tech Week. Now, Ordinary Wisdom is a bottom-up, inside-out alignment platform, and it's designed to bridge the gap between machine objectives and human values. It's not about superintelligence. We're not trying to solve the mystery of consciousness. It's conscience that we're very much looking at. The project operates on a three-tier technical methodology. The first is the inference level alignment. So instead of just governing around the AI with policies, we align the behavior inside the model weights and the inference pipeline. Second, we're actually seeking conscious control. We're moving from the primordial ooze of unguided learning to the intelligent design of wider behaviors by trying to specify the values. Be fair, keep promises, do no harm. Things that a typical engineer sees as somebody else's department. And we're trying to bake them into conscious control of the AI's output. And finally, a lot of verification and testing. We don't assume that vendors handled the values. We benchmark whether their models actually embody them in real-time physical scenarios. We are working with the Royal Institute of Philosophy, rather unsurprisingly, Imperial College, Trinity College Dublin, and Northeastern University. And the things that we've done really are fourfold. We've assembled a bunch of human tests. These are things from, believe it or not, agony aunts, or generally good questions about fairness. Why does my neighbor never pay the bar bill? It's arbitration judgments. We have straightforward philosophy tests. Many of you will know the trolley problem. Do you pull the switch to save 5 lives or let one person and kill one person? And we use those to benchmark. Second thing we're doing is we've curated thoughts. We've now loaded something in excess of 75,000 books, all the great books, Socrates, Plato, and yes, many other cultures as well. We've organized them into portfolios. These portfolios are things like the utilitarians, the Stoics. And we've been training these in a way where we're able to construct, using Monte Carlo analysis, minimal sets of those books rather than feeding them everything. Third, we've created mini constitutions. These are things like codes of conduct and professional ethics. And the fourth area, which is the only one that actually isn't finished, is a semantic harness for real-time stress analysis and control. And we can do things, if you go to the site, you can actually do, my favorite is, I ask Jane Austen to solve the trolley problem. By the way, I'm afraid that, kind of a giveaway, she is a raving utilitarian. She always pulls the switch. So what is the solution? Well, it's going to be messy, and we know that, but I would break things down into 2 layers, plumbing and water. To me, every physical AI deployment needs a top-down and a bottom-up. So top-down to me is, for example, ISO 42001 and the emerging EN 18286, which are there to actually help us comply with the EU's AI law. Risto touched on some of this. ISO 42001 was published in late 23, but we've been working on this in the field for many years. This is, to those of you who are new to the field, this was a known problem in the 80s, and we began work on it then. 42001 is the international standard for AI management. It handles risk assessment, accountability, and impact evaluation. I look at it and other systems like that as plumbing. They ensure the pipes are the right size, the joints don't leak, and there's a documented process for when something goes wrong. And you need brilliant plumbing. And as Lord Mayor, I spent 1.5 years preparing and 1 year doing. We ran a series of events at Mansion House. We created the AI quality infrastructure, which is now based in Barcelona. We had the Coffee House consensus, where if you want to see where the weight of finance is, $33 trillion of the $77 trillion in the International Corporate Governance Network have signed the Coffee House consensus to say they want to see ISO 42000 used in the countries where they invest and in the companies in which they invest. And we distributed a course freely, a 1.5 day long course that taught people ethics of utilitarianism and principalism, and also ISO 42001, and 50,000 people got certificates from that 1.5 day long course. So we've done some work there. But when we turn to where we'd like to go, where I'd like to go is to my notes. Yes, there we are. Yes. The plumbing doesn't determine what flows through the pipes. And that is the ordinary wisdom type layer, the water quality, ensuring that what actually comes out of the tap is clean, safe, and carries the values that you intended, rather than slop from upstream that nobody checked. So top-down, outside-in governance ensures the system is managed responsibly. Bottom-up, inside-out ensures the system behaves responsibly. Now, physical AI is a different beast, and that is this conference, because physical systems can and do cause physical harm. Borda gave a very good example yesterday about the difference between waiting for a chatbot or dealing with some garbage it spews out versus a robot actually repeatedly spilling coffee on your carpet, and which of the two of those are you going to do something about immediately? And the answer, as I think all of us agreed, was stop using the robot. So a biased loan algorithm is a scandal for the Sunday papers, but a biased surgical robot is a tragedy for a family. A chatbot with bad values is annoying. An autonomous vehicle with bad values is a news headline, followed by a parliamentary inquiry. So when AI is embedded in the factory, the hospital, or the city, there is no undo button, no rollback button after the fact. And we are currently sending AI out into the world the way we once set ships out to sea, very confident in the engineering, a little bit vague about the cartography, and very surprised when something went wrong. And again, that's that emphasis we heard yesterday on reliability. So my two recommendations in closing: one is the top-down, outside-in. Lean into ISO 42000, if nothing, for interoperable top-down control and an international standard that we can adhere to. It's not onerous, and if your physical AI system isn't certified within the next few years, you may be explaining to people who do have subpoena power why you didn't do that. But ISO 42000 and other systems like that are necessary, but they're not sufficient. And so I would encourage you to think harder, work with us if you wish, but work with somebody on bottom up, inside out, to specifically engineer values into your systems. You have to ask, have we specified the values we want the system to embody? Have we tested whether it embodies them? Have we built a pipeline that lets us update those values as society changes? And if the answer to any of those is, we assumed the vendor handled it, then I have some uncomfortable news about your vendor. So I won't predict an event, and I won't predict a date, but I will close by saying the machines are extraordinary, and we are right to have high hopes and great fears, but it is time we did give them some ordinary wisdom before they decide they don't need ours. Thank you.
Michael, fantastic.